Hey crew, welcome to Creating You in the Universe with Leah and Sandra.
Hey.
This is episode 6. This is Going with the Flow.
Going with the flow, or surrender.
Surrender. Take 2. For those of you who tuned in earlier in the week when we were supposed to do this on Tuesday, as you saw, that was a perfect example of trying to go with the flow. If you're checking us out on the Good Wives Network, stay tuned after this podcast for our yoga and our meditation.
So, going with the flow, we normally record on a Tuesday, and today is Friday. And today, in spirit of going with the flow, on this fine, cold Friday, if you're watching, I got a little baby here, so you might hear her. She's got to be in mom's arms today, so that's what we're going with.
That's part of going with the flow.
If you hear the little grunts, that's her, and we're just going with it. And we didn't intend to have so much come up this week when we set this intention of going with the flow. Let's talk about this.
Right.
But immediately after we did, we tried to go live from a distance. Sandra's in one house, I'm in another. We failed. Then we failed again on a different platform. Then we thought one more try and a different way. We failed at that platform too. And that's when we had to surrender and be like, okay, today is
just not the day.
It's not the day.
And I have a story about that.
Okay.
So if anyone's ever watched, it's the greatest movie of all time. One of my favorites, The Horse Whisperer. If you've seen it, comment below. There's a scene, and it is kind of harsh at first. It's really hard to watch, where the gentleman is the horse has gone through a major drama and trauma event, and he literally has to put the horse's hoof in this strap, and he's like pushing it around, and then holding it down, and everyone's freaking out. Don't do that. And he's like holding it, and the horse is bucking and fussing and fighting, and he grips down even more and tighter and holds it in. And why it's so important and why that was so profound is because you find yourself in those situations in life where, like, I had a bunch of things happen this week that couldn't have been more perfect timing for practicing literally going with the flow. And just you can sit there and sputter and swear and curse and cry and be all frustrated, but it's almost the same thing where the universe has to like just hold you down. I need you to release this. And it makes and the more you resist, the more painful it is, and the harder your day or the event is. And it's just like the universe going the same as that horse whisperer, just holding you down. I'm gonna hold you tighter until you release this, and then all of a sudden you just release, and it's like, oh, it's epic. I don't even know. I mean, I surrendered today, and I've been crying all day, but it's not tears. It's just those tears of just like
surrender,
release, and just like letting the paddle going down the just. I think in your canoe, dude.
For me, it's like recognizing that this is where you are now. There's nothing that you can do to change the outcome. And by sitting in that space of we're here, to me, that's surrender. Right. It's not resisting or being upset that we're here. I mean, those are valid feelings.
Especially in that circumstance, there could be circumstances
you're allowed to feel sad.
Right.
All the spectrum of emotion. But it's not resisting anymore. I think of going with the flow literally like a river.
Yeah, just like laying back on a tube. Like, are you like in a tube just laying back and like having some drinks and just going with the river, or are you like taking your paddle and trying your best to like
go upstream
and how
on the most powerful river,
right.
which for us it's called the Bow by where we live. Like it's a lot more difficult freaking out than being like, you know what, I'm gonna stop resisting, I'm gonna go with the flow around the river bend where I can get off the shore. Sure, you might be in a different place than you anticipated to get off this ride on the river, but the point is that you landed where you landed,
right?
And it's better than drowning, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. I had so many instances this week of going with the flow. First Tuesday was the episodes, doing our best to go live. The next day I was supposed to have let's rewind. Tuesday, there was a snow dump. It was like
Yes.
2 feet of snow here.
Yeah.
We're almost at the end of February. That gives you an idea. We're like a mere couple weeks away
Like
from the
just
equinox.
about there.
Yeah, till official spring.
Yeah.
And so that's why we were going to do it at a distance. Like, you wouldn't even be able to drive into Sandra's driveway even today. Like, it's covered in thick snow.
Yeah.
And so Wednesday, my cleaner was going to come rescheduled, but that didn't happen. She's like, you know what, let's just do next week because the roads are still terrible. She was going to help me clean because I had a friend coming over. This friend ended up not coming. My cleaner didn't come. At first, I was freaking out because I'm like, my house has to be clean and I have someone coming over and I'm balancing a baby. But at the end of the day, it didn't really matter. And it's good because I had a massive migraine and I needed to just be. So I'm thankful I didn't have the cleaner. I'm thankful my friend didn't come.
So it's almost like, and this is the whole point of the show, it's almost like Source, the universe, was saying, you don't need to freak out about that because they're not coming anyways. Well, you know? And then you need to heal because you're about to get something that's going to knock you out for a little while. And,
well, if I'm being completely honest, where I have to surrender right now is, part of babies is they have a bunch of, bowel movements. And my baby girl just let one go with the flow. And so I have to leave right now.
Okay.
And change her.
Awesome.
So, Sandra, you take it away and maybe let them know what's been happening in your life where you're surrendering. Because surrender is a synonym for going with the flow.
Well, I'll give an example of my week. So the car broke down. My husband drives for a living. And the car broke down on the weekend. And then the snowstorm hit. And then the part that he needed was like 2 days delayed. And then the roads were too icy. And yeah, it was one of those horrendous weeks. And just being like freaking out, the clients are going to be mad. And then just realizing that all the clients are totally cool. So in my head, they were going to freak out, and then reaching out to them, and they're just like, we totally get it. We totally understand. It's okay. And then the part happened, and then the battery died, and then AMA was stuck with all the other people around. So then he's another day, and it's just like, it was just one of those days. And like, I kid you not. And is that Source in the universe allowing us to have that time to really drive into us as we're sitting here giving tools, more and more tools to give to people, and more examples of things that happen in everyone's life. When you're a teacher, sometimes you can be like, well, what lesson am I going to teach? But as we said, it was totally coincidental that we were going with the flow. It was just something that we had come up with a whole bunch of topics to talk about several weeks ago, just like, well, let's go with the flow because it's a snowstorm and we weren't really thinking much of that. And then the universe is like, oh, they're gonna go with the flow this week. That sounds excellent. I got some things that I'm gonna throw down your pipeline there for you to really get a grasp as to what you're teaching out there. So you have some examples of easy examples of what you went through and how someone can deal with that in their own personal life. So. And now I'm like, what else am I going to talk about? So, going with the flow, what else can come to me? A lot of the shows that we do, just so everyone's aware, we do come up with our timelines and our guides of what we're going to talk about, but we just go intuitively. We both, before the show, we just do a little, not a meditation, I would say, that I'm going to force Lee to do a meditation after she just left me here on live TV. Yeah, it's just intuitive. So it's just being there and listening to the words that come through. Different people have different experiences. Different people channel different ways. And what else can I say here? Da, 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 da. Going with the flow. Performance pressure, right? What else? I'm struggling. I'm not struggling. I have so much to say. It's just a matter of making it clear for the people that are going through some stuff out there. What else? See, it's that performance pressure, and she's right on time. You're right on time, because I was like, and then blank. That's okay. I said I was going to make you do a meditation. See, to make up for just leaving me on the spot.
That's going with the flow for you. Oh,
Mics.
mic
Camera.
check.
Action.
Okay. So we're going.
See, you know what the hardest thing about going with the flow right now is that we started on this network. So we got on this network and we're so pumped about it. And we used to go live on this as well as Insta, hi Insta. But we're gonna make this show into a 3-part series, like a 3-part series, not 3-part series. It's a 3 event in the show. So instead of talking for about 50 minutes, was what we were doing before, we're shortening it to 20 minutes. So that's a little bit of what the struggle is today, because we're both looking at the clock saying we've only been talking for 10 minutes. And normally, if we were just talking, it would go with the flow a lot better. Would you agree? And isn't that funny how we keep using that word, but it is literally
it's the theme of the week.
It's literally, right? So we're looking at the clock going, we're going to cut them down to between 20 and 22 minutes. And then we're going to be doing a yoga. Well,
yoga and meditation.
Yoga and meditation. So it takes up an hour segment on our new network that we'll be launching here within the next week or two, the Good Vibes Network. And we're super excited about it. But that's where you're catching on with some of the uncomfort or the stuttering, is because, like I said, when we can just come on and talk, we could talk for hours. I could talk about any subject for a long time. But when all of a sudden you now have to take your time that you normally talk about and now cut it down, it's like, all of a sudden there's a different parameter on it and your brain just starts to just be like, what am I supposed to say? I'm talking too fast, right? So
yeah, I think that's like learning anything new, is you have to kind of surrender to the new process that you're learning. And sometimes you're going to get it right away. Sometimes you do have to surrender and do with what you got, work with what you got, and work it good.
Right.
So I think a big synonym for going with the flow is surrender.
Surrender.
Time in my life I've had to surrender is moments that I've had no money. And at the time, I didn't have a lot to be responsible for. I didn't have kids. I basically just had myself. And being younger, I think this would have been like 19, before I met my spouse. I was extra reckless. Like, I don't know how I'm going to pay, my bills that I'm supposed to pay, but my friend and I were jobless. We both had no job. The week before, one of us got wrongfully dismissed and the other one had to let go for their mental health. And we're both sitting there on a cheap Sunday. It was Sunday specials, and we didn't know at the time it was also the Super Bowl. We were just 2 girls hanging out in a bar. And anyways, we just surrendered. We recognized this is where we're at, and we decided to spend our money recklessly, as one might do when they're 19, no kids. And we spent every last dime we had. And it wasn't probably the best, but when we surrendered and just say la vie, life's too short, let's do this, we actually had our bill paid for by somebody, which was great.
Nice.
The biggest bill I've ever racked up. I think we racked up, anyways, it was quite a bit of money. And then we both had new jobs the next week. So life looked completely different, but you can kick and scream and be like, oh my God, this is terrifying. I have no job. Or you can just surrender and do what feels right. Do what feels easy. And, it's not the best advice saying, you know what? If you have no job, go spend every last dime you have. That's not what I'm saying here.
And that's not the intent either. The intent is just to show that when you are carefree and just kind of relax, everything kind of falls into place. Like the perfect example is when you said, like, you were freaking out, there's guests supposed to be coming, the house cleaner didn't show up, and then all of a sudden Source is like, I got different things for you. Like me, I'm in the middle of a major move, a major life change with my career, and it's super scary, and it's just like, all these things it's just so uncomfortable in life right now, but I'm going with the flow and I'm surrendering, and things are just Yeah, I know things are going to fall into place, and yeah, I can't do it. There's literally, even if I was to stress about it, there's literally nothing more I could do in my life at this moment that I haven't already done and put out to the universe.
Yes.
And so it's literally, we'll be having this podcast or this episode in about 4 weeks. I'm gonna say 3 weeks, and my life is gonna be completely different. I guarantee you. And so that's another thing. I love this because it's coming at a journey that we're both on. We're just beginning. We're both going through things in life, and it's giving us those events and the guidance and the what I want to say, the experience in order to pass that along, because we're both creators. We've created our life. We manifest very 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 well, very fast. But even us in our own life, being that we're having a human experience, we get caught up with life too, and stresses and daily stuff.
So what's crossing my mind as I think about surrender, going with the flow, is that you have this idea in your mind of what you need, the things that need to get done,
and how they're going to happen,
and what you desire to manifest.
Mm-hmm.
When you surrender and go with the flow, it's giving God or the creator, spirit, this magical force behind life, the driver's seats. Yeah. You're no longer using your ego and your mind to think about what you're doing and how to do it and struggling to get there. When you surrender, when you go with the flow, it allows something else to take the driver's seat and drive you to the destination that you're actually supposed to be on. We might not know in the moment why things are going awry, why life totally shifts and transforms and completely breaks apart. But when you surrender, it's allowing an ease of energy that you're welcoming the universe, or whatever you'd like to use, the creator, as Sandra says, to bring you things that not even you could have thought of, because it wasn't your job to use your thinking mind. Yes. It was maybe something beyond thinking, like feeling. You're desiring a feeling of freedom, to be financially free, a freedom of home, whatever that might be. You are going to that destination with ease, or greater ease, when you let it flow, when something else can help guide you where you're supposed to go rather than where you thought you needed to be. And where you can go through creator or God can be so much more magical than forcing something that you think needs to be right. So,
because you don't have all the pieces. My husband always says all the time, if I'm ever stressed about something, he goes, "You're playing checkers with someone who's playing 3D chess. Like, you're not even on the same board game. You don't even
as
have
the creator or God.
You don't even have a clue as to what the pieces are that are moving without your knowledge, not even on your game board, that are going to tie over into your game very soon." Right? It's like, as you were saying, that the awesome song, I'm horrible with names. It's one of my weaknesses. Carrie Underwood.
Yeah, Jesus
take the wheel. Right? It's exactly it. Like, she's frustrated. She's slipping on ice. The car's turning, and she just literally, Jesus, take the wheel.
So I've had one accident where it was icy, much like how it is today. And I was not thinking, and we were going too fast around a corner. And it wasn't even a regular corner, it's just a curve of a road. And to slow down, I hit my brakes. But if you're not familiar with driving in the winter, that's the opposite of what you want to do, because when you hit your brakes, you start to slip out. And so that's exactly what happened to me. And so I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm literally spinning out on this road. And there was something inside me that said, you need to let go of your wheel. And that is the last thing that you're ever going to learn in driver's school. Driver's school is like,
and take your foot off of everything. Yeah. Just take your feet off.
Yeah, that's what driver's school would say. Yeah. Look where you're going, steer there.
Yeah.
But everything inside me was like, you need to let go of the wheel. And that was literally, if we're going to call it Carrie Underwood's song, Jesus, take the wheel. Because where I ended up landing was the most divine and safe place that I could have actually been. My car was barely damaged at all. I was in between two trees. Like, there was, who knows? Anyways, I surrendered.
Yeah.
I followed my intuition, and it worked out for the best for me. So surrender, going with the flow. It might seem really freaky, but if I let my ego think, no, this is what I have to do because driver's school told me.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Or I got this. I got
Yeah.
this. Yeah. You don't got it.
No.
You never do.
Yeah.
And that's the big part of the game, is that you never actually do. It's just a big fun game that we're just sitting here.
So going with the flow has been such a welcome event of our week. We've had so many life changes, especially over here with Sandra, where she's going with the flow every single day. There's seems like a new hurdle that you're just like, okay, I can resist, but I'm flowing with it.
Yeah.
For myself over here, it's through letting go that I've had welcome opportunities for myself that I didn't even know I needed. And had I not had plans completely fall through, I wouldn't have had the space to just be me and take care of my day where I had a massive migraine.
Mm.
Yeah, going with the flow.
Going with the flow.
Let yourself go down the river. It's easy as that.
Right. And that's all we have for today.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for joining.
Creating You in the Universe. All right.
We'll get that.